there's not another drug in life that I'm glad I took. But grass, I think my life might be somewhere else if I'd chosen another avenue. Alcohol, for instance, and Christ, if I drank as much as I've smoked, my God, I'd look like Keith Richards.
Looking for some education, made my way into the night. All that bullshit conversation, baby, can't you read the sign? I don't even want to waste your time. Let's just say the maybe. Baby, I ain't Mr. Right, but if you're looking for fast love, that's love in your eyes.
I think I've probably got less gay fans. Gay fans are only interested when they think you're in the closet. Once you're out, they don't give a toss. I promise you.
In the absence of security, I made my way into the night. Stupid Cupid keeps on calling me, but I see nothing in his eyes. I miss my baby. Everyone, tonight, so why don't we make a little room in my BMW, babe? Searching for some peace of mind. Yeah, I'll help you find it. I do believe that we are practicing the same religion.
The only way I can not take any of those headlines seriously or not be driven mad by the fact that, you know, the law doesn't protect me from liars, all of this is worth it. All of it is worth it because apart from the wonderful life I have at home, I still get to go to work every day and make my music, you know.
Looking for some affirmation.
Well, they only just turned it off. They turned it off. You might as well leave the air conditioning on as long as possible, because otherwise I'm just going to have to keep going away because I'm sweating already.
We just briefly turned it off and I'll switch on.
Don't underestimate my sweating prowess.
No way at all.
Hello. Hi, matey. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Apologise, I've got a hair gel in my hand, in case there was something nasty. How you doing?
Very well.
Yeah? Had a good summer?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm saying anything other than thank you, really, to people, because I sat in my front room one day about a year and a half ago and thought, you know, apart from the fact that you'll probably wish you'd done it while you could still stand without help, you know, there is going to be a day when you regret not having done this thing that you're so afraid of, which is repeating the experience of the 80s, i.e. going out on tour and living in the eye of the storm, you know. And also, I started to realise that this mistake, you know, career mistake, supposed mistake I'd made of becoming, you know, very politically visual just before the Iraq War was really taking a toll on my media's, my outlets in terms of radio and newspapers in general. I realised that things were getting out of control, and I realised there was only one pure way of cutting through all of that, which was to go and play live to people and give my fans what they wanted rather than this, you know, barrage of information about who...
Are you saying that in a sense this was prompted by the way you made yourself visible and came out and attacked the invasion of Iraq, that from that the tour stems perhaps a change in direction of your life? How has that's a big thing to say.
To be fair, I was never objecting to the invasion of Iraq. I was hoping it wasn't going to happen. I was one of a handful of people in the mainstream saying, please, if enough of you say no to this, maybe it won't happen. Of course, very naively, looking at Tony Blair now, incredibly naively. But to be fair to myself, I think even with the hideous goings-on in the Middle East in the last couple of months, Shoot the Dog has never been more word perfect. You know what I mean? As the years go by, Mr. Blair is making it a word-perfect protest song.
stuck. I got the feeling all the
For all the people that laughed at it and tried to pretend that it was naive at the time, I am nothing if not naive. But that song is not naive.
You couldn't have anticipated that you'd find yourself taking on a press baron and a press barrage to the extent
Well,
that...
I think I did. I think I did expect to take on Murdoch. I was standing telling my friends about Murdoch and how I thought he was, you know, he was the devil walking the planet since for 20 years. And I feel, strangely enough, that I've got to this strange thing in my life that makes me understand myself, and that my desire for autonomy and to feel that the only dignity is in real autonomy when it's available to you, has brought me to a point where I'm in a world where I'm so right about what's happened. I was so right about Murdoch that I'm in a world where finally, 20 years later, we have a media dictator that people told me I was mad to even shake a stick at. I don't want to overstate the case, and I think sometimes it took me a long time to actually admit that something that I could have been so self-destructive with one action. But I had an unflinching radio record in Europe. It literally, anything that I released went to #1, and I have to be perfectly plain about it. I have not had one convincing radio hit in Europe since Shoot the Dog. I don't actually know if there were Murdoch papers, but a couple of papers that said that it was that I'd featured cartoon bestiality, and that it was, and that the audience were really uncomfortable. They were cheering their heads off. Uncomfortable.
We're getting freaky tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
At the very same time that these things that I was trying to campaign against 4 years ago are coming to a head, and when we need to be crapping ourselves at what our government is doing, I've been on the front covers of probably 15 or 20 newspapers this year. I am part of the problem. I'm officially part of the problem now. The only thing of any note that's happened to me as a person this year is that I fell asleep in my car. Because it's a serious thing to do. You don't get into your car so knackered that you're likely to fall asleep. But, the police were there on the scene and said I was okay, and the police at the station said I was okay, but that's not what the public thinks. The public thinks I'm a man on the brink of some kind of breakdown, because apparently also because I hit a parked car and because I cruise as a gay man. So do you see what I'm saying? There are areas of vulnerability in this new life of where celebrities have done the deal with the devil whenever they started.
Ooh, it was a light star tripping on a high wire. Bulldog stubborn, born uneven. Classless creature, a man for all seasons, but don't bet them, they can't take him to the very bottom.
What people might see as, signs of someone being out of control or being told that someone is out of control, these are the things in my life, the ordinary things as a gay man, that keep me sane.
'Cause the 50s shifted out of gear. Oh, he was an idol then, now he's an idol here. But his face has changed, it's not the same no more. And I have to say that I like the way his music sounded before.
The things that balance, that have kept me sane, have kept me able to entertain people, are sometimes the things that they just don't understand. But I understand them, I've got my own head together, and I'm still sane. for that very reason, for the very reasons that people think I shouldn't be, I'm still able to make my music because I've refused to live my life as a celebrity.
Number one crush in a schoolgirl's eyes, but don't pretend that it won't end in the depths of your despair. You went from lame suits right down to tennis shoes to peanuts from the lion's share.
Elements to this new celebrity life that mean that I, as a gay man, a sexually active gay man, cannot be part of the business without becoming not only a problem to young gay people and an example of why you should stay closeted, but also being the very thing that I hate the most about modern media, which is being part of a celebrity culture, which is distracting us beautifully from the ways that our government is changing our country. So I'm not only tempted to leave because after 25 years of, no pun intended, taking it on the chin and being able to laugh off this kind of stuff, not only feeling that, it's getting to a point where no one should have to put up with this kind of invasion, so that tempts me to leave, but also feeling if I don't leave, I'm part of the existing. If I keep releasing music that I promote, then I leave myself not open to the kind of ridicule that I've kind of learned to live with on a real basis, but I feel that the vanity of wanting to stay within the mainstream rather than do some of the things that I know I could do and go off and do and intend to explore, but the vanity of staying in the mainstream as a musician is actually a negative for the world. Where did we just get up to?
Gotta be some way, not to love you.
Oh no, I was going to say on the.
It doesn't get better.
We've got to have that in there in case I don't go for that live.
Okay.
For the bad nights.
Okay. Da-da.
Okay, should we have another go?
Just that bit.
Yeah, also with the.
Cause you're beautiful.
Make sure you cut the end of that off. You know what I mean? Make it nice and short.
Cause you're beautiful.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
It's always the same. It's always the same.
Like no other, flawless, absolutely flawless.
Always the same.
Just like perfection.
Dreams, yeah. Always the same.
Like no other, flawless, absolutely flawless.
You're beautiful, you are, and you know it. You're wasted here, you're a star in this small town, and hand-me-downs who don't even know it. Sometimes it brings you down, sometimes it eats you up, sometimes you think that your head's gonna blow, and it doesn't get better. Don't you know you got to go to the city? You got to go to the city. Side of the glass. I think you make it in the city, baby. I think you know that you're more than just.
When you say leave, what do you mean, George?
I just mean to stop releasing CDs and singles and videos, and I'm hoping desperately to
To
enjoy
stop
this
performing
tour.
after this tour, to more or less stop performing?
Well, no, I'm hoping desperately to enjoy this tour, because if I can enjoy this tour, then I can always relate to the public in the future on a level which is pure, which is uninterrupted, which is
and
not.
you're singing to them, they're reacting to your singing, and that's the deal.
Yeah, that's the deal. It's the deal. It's becoming the deal for many people because live music has been for many years the way to make money, big money, especially if you're one of the people that can still do it. Can I stop? I'm really feeling a bit sweaty. Sorry.
You're going like a train.
Come on, everyone, you gotta go to the city. 1, 2. You got to go to the city. Always the same. Always the same. Asian of the black man. Always the same. It's always the same.
definitely my voice isn't as pure as it was, but the more you experience in life, you know, the more you go through, the more you express it in the way you sing. So actually, I find my kind of early recordings vocally, I find them a bit boring. Because I didn't know enough about life, you know. My mother had a brother. They say that I was born on the day that he died. Someone to cling to, she said. Tell you what, little more top end, just below the very top. I thought I knew them all, I thought I knew, but she lied. I said, show me his face again. Tell me again why. Okay. Okay, stop. Lower mid. I've got lower mid. That's what I've been dealing with. That's what was frightening me. Yeah. One of the bizarre things, strangely enough, is being completely humiliated or humiliating yourself. It kind of leaves you in a really...
Strong girl, will you tell him about my joy? I live each day for him. The sun came out. I'm just breathing it in.
I can't bear to be a negative in the world. I can't bear it. I spent 25 years trying to make music that I think on emotional level, whether it's taking people...
You take a perspective in your own 25 years, from Wham onwards, you look back with a certain almost wonder at the innocence and the possibilities of difference.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, my God, because I feel so spoilt in a strange way, because I spent most of the early part of my career... I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but I just saw Jerry go.
He does that all the time. It's a habit. It's a tick.
Yeah, he's going like that, and I want him to go.
Well, you look like a couple of sort of bookies' assistants on a call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, what was I saying?
I was saying you look back down the sort of...
because when I was in the midst of all that wonderful stuff going on in the middle of the 80s, where there were 4 or 5 groups competing in the charts for #1 internationally, you know, Culture Club, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, you know, Duran, and I looked at these people, and I used to feel a bit slighted that I hadn't been able to sit and nick ideas off of the Beatles and the Beach Boys and all the other people that nicked off ideas backwards and forwards, you know, shamelessly, but still had their own thing, right?
And the Beatles
inspired one another.
Yeah, when you look at the background to a lot of the Beatles songs, and the Beatles were wonderful. They're nicking stuff from the black artists,
and doing it really
riffs. They're nicking riffs. Riffs. They're nicking all sorts. Yeah,
and doing actually some of it really badly. And very obviously, you know, Pet Sounds, and the fact that really what they were trying to do at the beginning of the Beatles was actually their own version of Motown. And that's what's interesting. I can't really get anything out of the early Beatles stuff other than it gives you that elation that Motown records do to a degree, but I need that R&B that Motown provided, you know.
But there's something about your love that makes me weak and lifts me off my feet. There's something about your love that makes me weak and lifts me off my feet. Knocks me off my feet. I don't wanna bore you with it. Oh, but I love you, love you, love you. Darling, I don't wanna bore you with it. Love you, love you, love you.
in reality, I think it kind of showed in the way that we performed. There was a kind of narcissism, even though mine was acted, even if Andrew's was real. There was a kind of narcissism and expression of sexuality which is just not very English, and therefore seen as, you know, is that actually, very, very simply, I genuinely believed that I was unlucky not to have been born 10 years before. I had no idea how unlucky it would have been to be born 10 years later. My God, can you imagine? I mean, 10 years later, and I would not, I mean, the thing about being born when I was and being 17 when I was, is that when I walked into record companies in 1981 or 80, for instance, because I wrote Careless Whisper with Andrew in 1980. And so 26 years ago, when I went into a record company with a 4-track demo that we'd made for 20 quid, and if you had enough gall to walk in without an appointment the way Andrew and I did, they liked that. You know, we'd go into Chrysalis and tell the receptionist that she'd screwed up and that we had an appointment, and we really get really pissed off about it. You know, I can't believe it. And if you had that kind of cheek, they let you in because they thought you might tell them something they didn't know. I remember saying to Andrew one day when we were walking home from school, we were bunking off, and I remember we'd written Careless Whisper. We'd finished it about the week before in a basement flat in Peckham, and I remember saying to Andrew, I've no idea who will do it, whether it'll be us or not, but this is a hit. This is a #1 record for someone, and it was about Careless Whisper. And it's interesting, I had an absolute confidence then, and it took about 3 or 4 albums before I realised that maybe I was as good a singer as I was a writer, you know.
Careless whispers are a good friend to the heart and mind. Ignorance is kind, but there's no comfort in the truth. I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Though it's easy to pretend, I know you're not a fool.
It's just horrific what young artists go through if they show any gumption or self-determination at all. They're shown the door. It's incredible.
Because nowadays, what you're saying is that the record companies know what they're looking for because they've focus grouped it, and they've demographed it sort of out of the hands of the artists, and they are looking for somebody to fix predetermined slots.
And they've got used to the idea that one thing that's very sure about